All right, what you're looking at there is this is some kind of eprom programmer. By the time I got it from China years ago, I physically used my old eprom programmer manuals with switches and stuff. This thing got lost in the mail. It finally got here. I think it works only under Windows, maybe XP. So in other words, it's what they call that a dongle? No, no, a brick. It's a brick now. In other words, once the software won't work on Windows, you have yourself a brick. But this video is called The Trail of Tears. Now, somewhere along the line, my father must have bullshitted one of his sisters, and his sister went out with her husband, or his sister went out with her husband, and they went out to Arizona or some godforsaken state, and they went out on an expedition to dig Apache tears, and it's a stone, and it's translucent, and I think it was a smoky gray color, and he gets this package. He comes home, and there's this big square package on the front steps, and he opens it up. There's nothing but rocks in there, and they look like glass beads, big diameter glass beads. So he's telling me, and I'm like, I didn't even want to know what he said. Why would they ship him all these stones? Well, he basically bullshitted them somehow with like, how hard could that be, or whatever story. And they had mined these Apache tear stones, and they were just waiting for someone to pull the trigger. And my father pulled the trigger somehow. This is years ago. I really only half paid attention to it because I did get involved in it. I went over to one of the stores, and I came back with a rock tumbler. And I read all the instructions, and I put it together, and I started tumbling the rocks. And my father wants to stick the Apache tears things in. I said, no, we're going to run this rock tumbler according to the instructions. And I don't know if it was every week you changed the grid, or every day, or every 3 days, but I remember it ran for a long time. And it was called a Tumbler's Tumbler, and it constantly wore parts out for all the times I had to run it. Well, anyway, I ran the first batch of stones, and in the interim, I went digging, and in one of the, believe it or not, in the mall, they had a rock tumbling store, okay? And it sold gemstones and stuff like that. And the guy really picked on the Tumbler's Tumbler. But the Tumbler's Tumbler had like a six-sided inside, which made the rocks tumble a little bit more. So they would come due a lot quicker than the drums with the smooth inside. Well, anyway, so I had both drums, both kinds. I had extra belts. When I was in RCA, they used to make fuel cells upstairs. It was top secret. And I go up there, and the guys would give me O-rings, and I used them for the drive belt. And I went through a motor, and it was constant repairing that stupid tumbler. Well, anyway, I found a magazine on one of the newsstands, and it was a Rock Hound magazine. I just thumbed through it real quick, and I stopped at a page, and it was Apache tears. So I brought it home, and I went over it. And the final step that you polish the Apache tears is you don't use any grit. You use styrofoam and soapy water. That's how fine a polish that you put on those rocks. So anyway, my father kept bothering me. Put these in there. I said, Dad, you put small ones in, you're going to make earrings. Well, I want to try some big ones. I said, no. You're going to get a big, giant, translucent. Well, how do you know that? I'm like, go away. Go away. So I put all the smaller stones in, ones that would be the size of earrings. And I put them in there, and you go through the coarse, the medium, the fine, and then the final polishing was the soapy water and the styrofoam. So I bring out these stones, and my father's like all nervous, his hands all shaking as he takes them over to the sink and he's washing them off. It was hilarious stuff, you know. And now he's looking at them, and they do look gem quality, okay. So he's all excited now. So he goes out and he buys these kits in the rock tumbler store or the mineral store, whatever the hell that stupid thing was. It got replaced by the Hofritz or whatever the scissor place. It went from being a rock tumbling mineral place to the scissor nail file something store later on. But anyway, he buys these kits, and what it is you can take two little rocks and turn them into earrings. So he showed me. I said, I don't want to get involved. What? Get it away from me. I tumbled a bunch of rocks for you. I have to repair the tumbler again and do another batch. And of course, he keeps bringing out those big ones. Says, get away with those big ones. Okay? So I'm tumbling these things. And I would take the bigger rocks and scribe them, or break them, and then put those pieces in there, tumble them. Sometimes I had to tumble them more than a few times with the big grit to get them in enough of a shape that it could be used as an earring. So my father's making these earrings up. Well, he sends earrings off to the sister that sent him the rocks, and she's all excited. Now all these orders are coming in for free. Everybody wants one. Well, you gave her a pair, and he's caught in this. He's caught in the same crap that he used to cause me to get into, and my mother would cause it. They would get me to do something for one of their friends, and then they would brag and talk to other people, and then suddenly I was in production minus money, going and buy stuff. The clocks, I bought 144 clocks, a gross. 144? Anyway, a gross of clocks at the electronic barn. The guy got so tired of people taking the clocks out of the box to look at them, and had a big freaking sign there, don't take the clocks out of the box, look at the sample one. The sample one was plugged in, it was a digital clock. So one day I'm at the electronic barn, we're off from the Stones just for temporary. He says to me, I'm tired of this. He says, what will you pay me for this box of clocks? And there's 144 in there. So I had like $100 on me. He took it. He goes, get them out of here. He helps me carry the box out. We put it in my trunk. He closes the lid. He says, I never want to see them ever again. So anyway, I took them home, and my mother decided to give them out as gifts. Well, they kept coming back to me because the light bulb would burn out. There was a light bulb. There was a scene. There was like a scene of maybe the jungle on it, on some, and other ones it was a sunset. Well, the little light bulb would burn out, and that light bulb, without a seam in it, so it would project correctly, was like $1. So I had all these clocks coming back. They got them for free. After 6 months, the light bulb would burn out, and they expected me to put a free light bulb in there. All right, I put the kibosh on that. Well, anyway, back to the Stones. And my poor father doesn't know what the hell to do. And I said, look, I'm tired of tumbling them. Just tell them we ran out of rocks. What are we going to do? Have them pay us to go mine some more rocks out in Arizona, wherever the hell it was. They wanted free earrings. You wouldn't believe how people are. He opened his mouth at work, and then all the women in the front office have to have the earrings with the rock in it, and it was stupid. Okay, but that's what people are all about. And he was trying to suck me into it more than the tumbler. Okay, I knew basically you could tumble rocks, and I knew that when you tumble a rock with coarse, medium, and fine, it doesn't change the size of the rock. It just rounds off the corners and polishes it. And I showed him, I said, basically, you can tell what a rock's going to look like, in most cases, if you run it under water. And you'll see it's shiny. It looks shiny when it's under the water, and that's how it's going to turn out. Well, how do you know that? That's the stuff he used to say. How do you know that? The Joe Padner, how do you know that? Experience of life. When you're looking at in a stream and you see a pebble there that looks cute, or looks very shiny, it's got weird colors to it. Now you take it out of the water, it doesn't look as good. But if you were to tumble that rock, it would look just like it was in the water. Okay? And I got into that. As a young kid, I always wanted a rock tumbler, and there was the excuse. And the tumbler's tumbler, I went through bushings on that thing. I wore out the motor, and every few days you had to add water to the tumbler. Otherwise, I don't know how the water got out of there. It was sealed, had an O-ring, but in other words, it would lose water, and then the mixture in there would get slushy and stuck, and it would cause the drum to hop, and it would get out of the unit and hop off. And sometimes it would hop and get caught, and the rubber drive was spinning, and it would burn like a hole, or it would deform one of the rollers. So I had to buy rollers, but I kept this thing going. And finally, at one point, I just said to my father, tell them we ran out of rocks, which was the truth. I was breaking the bigger rocks up. But it took several steps after you broke the rock to a certain size to get those sharp sides off of it. You know, you had to run it like, I don't know if it was a week, 2 weeks in course. And then basically you go to coarse, medium, and fine. And then with the Apache Tears, like I said, the last step was styrofoam and some soapy water, dish detergent. I think it was a teaspoon, whatever it was. But that's, you know, the Field of Tears. It was Apache Tears, the Trail of Tears, where they drove the Indians and made them relocate, and they were all dying along the way. But it was one of those things where my father bullshitted somebody about something, and they called him on it. And a box of freaking stones showed up at our front steps. Now, I don't know if I had the rock tumbler before, but then I'm going to tumble the rocks, and he's telling me how to do it. I'm like, no, this ain't going to happen. You know, you bullshitted your way into this. Now, I might have had the rock tumbler first, and he went bragging, making like he knew what he was doing. And then I got the box of Apache Tears. I don't know, but I know the aunt or his sister sent that box of Apache Tears. And they thought it was funny because they went there and they were finding so many of them that everybody in the group was figuring out how to take more and more of these things back to the car. But then once you get them back to the car and you get it home, you look at these things and they need to be either cut, polished, and they have a thing called, I got to think about what a faceter. And a real diamond goes on a faceting machine, and it's got like a record platter with different grits of diamond that's glued on it, and there's a indexer that lowers the diamond down at different angles. See, people started arguing with me that diamonds are cut with chisels. Okay, they use a faceting machine. But that was the other thing too. I'm in the middle of all this, and they want free earrings, and then they're telling me how you cut diamonds with a chisel. Yeah, like I said, a little bit of power to some people is too much. But these are the things that used to happen to me. I'd come home from work, and I'd be sitting there, and my father goes, "We just got a box of Apache Tears in the mail." I'm like, "Why did that happen?" And my father would sort of tell me the story. But now that I have free time and I think about it, I realized he was bullshitting about something I was doing, and then I got sucked into it. Okay, and like I said, I went to school for electronics, and suddenly I had all these TV sets showing up at my house. And the people would get nasty. Well, why don't you take it to a regular guy? Oh, they screw you. They charge you too much. Yeah, give it to me and make me fix it for free. And then when the part's $35, tell me I'll just throw it out. Like when I told you about Aunt Maggie, or as I called her, Aunt Maggot, that was my grandmother's sister. And she was a barfly. My one mother's friend told me straight out one time, he was at her house, she's just a freaking barfly. When she had her look, she sat in the bar and men bought her drinks, and now that she's ugly and old, nobody wants her. She has no skills. She's on welfare. And what did she do to you? I said, she called me up. She needed a television fixed right away. And I went over there, and my mother sucked me in. And I brought it home, and I had to put a new picture tube in it. And by the time I got it back to her, because it was a rush, she didn't want to miss the soap operas, someone had given her a better TV. So now I'm stuck with this old piece of shit TV, one of those metal television sets, with a picture tube. And my mother kept looking the other way, like she wasn't responsible. That picture tube was like $37, and the dud value on that picture tube was like 10. And when the guy was selling me the rebuilt, he kept begging me to bring the dud back. He says, "This is getting harder and harder to get these picture tubes. I really would like you to bring the dud back, and I'll give you $10. And I kept saying to him, "Look, it's not worth my time to drive home and then drive all the way back with the dud." And he goes, "What?" I said, "It's not worth $10. It's not the time. I'm working all kinds of overtime. I'm fixing a television set for some stupid old lady." And then little did I know, Aunt Maggot would would stick it to me really good. What was so funny was my mother died, my father died, and one day the phone rang, and my aunt calls up. She says, "Your Aunt Maggie died." I go, "Yeah." "Yeah, well, we need money from you to bury her." "Well, why me?" "Well, you have money. We don't have money." I said, "She still owes me from the television set." And they're like, "What?" I said, "I hold a grudge. I did with her. She wasn't my aunt. She was my grandmother's sister." All right? That would be my aunt's aunt, right? Something like that. Not my aunt. And then she stuck it to me. She didn't even say I'm sorry, nothing. She's like, oh, I don't want the TV now. Someone gave me a better one. Well, what about the, you needed it right away. And yeah, you okayed the picture tube. You know, I got it in there. I got it back. No, no, that's not how it worked. Okay? And that's why someone says, how could you say Aunt Maggot? Aunt Maggie, Aunt Maggot. Okay? That's how I am now. That's how I roll. I think that's it. All right, that's it.